Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of PCT403 General Dispensing 2. On today's episode, we are going to be looking at another external preparation, ointment. Here we have our dates, which is mandatory, do not forget. And we have our question here, Whitefield ointment BPC, send 3 grams. And for direction, we have apply SOS. Here we can see also that this preparation is a BPC preparation, and like I said in the last episode, all you need to do is to look for your British Pharmaceutical Codex and write down the ingredients that are necessary in preparing Whitefield ointments. Now this is what we are going to be working with. We have benzoic acid in fine powder 60 grams, salicylic acid in fine powder 30 grams. We have emulsifying ointment 910 grams. And remember, whenever you have written down your ingredients this way, you need to closely observe. Your comments usually come from how best you can observe the ingredients, how best you can detect incompatibilities, and so on. For comments, we have something like this: name and the age of patient not given. Then ointment as well do undergo some losses during preparation, so you have to prepare a 10% excess. So to avoid manipulative losses, 10% excess should be prepared. Formula was obtained also from the BPC, page 758. Now the lecturer could just go ahead and say this is Anna, and Anna is a child and adult. It doesn't really matter with external preparations like ointments and creams, but let's say Anna is an adult, and for this you could just have it as okay. Once your comments have been verified, the next thing you do is your table, if you can remember from our last episode. So for the table, we also have 3 columns. We have the ingredients, the given formula, and the working formula. So for ingredients, we have benzoic acid, salicylic acid, and emulsifying ointment, and you have your given formula. Next, you go right ahead into the calculation, and do not forget, when you've established your working formula, you have to come back to the table and fill it in these boxes. For our calculation, just like we already established in the previous episode, you would preferably like to start with your total given formula. Here we have 60 plus 30 plus 910 grams to give you 1000 grams. Secondly, you calculate for your 10% excess, and you have it as 10 divided by 100 times 3 grams, as that was what you were asked to send. So you have 0.3 grams. You go right ahead to add 3 grams plus 0.3 grams to give you 3.3 grams. This is your working formula. Next of what to calculate is your multiplying factor, and to do that, your multiplying factor is being given by working formula divided by given formula. Your working formula here is 3.3 grams. And your given formula, as you initially calculated, is 1000 gram. Gram cancel gram, you have 0.0033 without a unit. Furthermore, you would bring out your ingredients, the ones you're working with, which is your benzoic acid, salicylic acid, and finally your emulsifying ointment. Now it is important to multiply each of your ingredients, each amount of your ingredients, with your multiplying factor. So for benzoic acid, we have 60 times 0.0033. For salicylic acid, we have 30 times 30 times 0.0033, and lastly we have 910 times 0.0033. So if you punch this in your calculator, you will have this to be 0.198, this will be 0.099, and lastly this should be 3.003. Don't forget your grams. Don't forget your grams. Now, all these are essential, as these are the values you will go and impute in your initial table. Now that you have obtained your working formula, you fill it in the table like this, after which you can go right ahead to do your methodology. For our methodology, we can have it this way. 10% excess was prepared to avoid manipulative losses. A wide-mouthed jar was washed, cleaned, and kept ready. Benzoic acid, 0.198 gram, was weighed and transferred into a clean, dry mortar. Salicylic acid, 0.099 gram, was weighed and transferred into the same mortar. The powders were triturated thoroughly using doubling up technique until a homogeneous mix was obtained. Emulsifying ointment, 3.003 gram, was weighed and transferred onto a clean, dry tile. The triturated powders were gradually incorporated using levigation method and mixed until homogeneous with the emulsifying ointment. Now, 3 grams of the ointment was weighed and transferred into the readily kept white-mouthed jar. It was closed, cleaned, labeled, and sent to Anna as directed. Lastly, for our label, we have these, and ointments are also external preparations, so our border is with a red ink. Do not forget, for external use only, which is our auxiliary label. Now, what we have is white filled ointment, BPC. Since it's a BPC product, an official product, you write it down this way. We're asked to send 3 grams. Now, for our direction of use, interpreting the direction, we have apply ointment to the affected area when necessary. Then you have the name of the patient, Anna, and finally you have your date here. So next we have the Department of Pharmaceutics, CASU, and then finally uses and reference. As we have established before, uses and reference are also gotten from the BPC.
These tutorials is brought to you from the Office of the Academic Director of the National Fellowship of Christian Pharmacy Students, CASU.